Sonnie, you are up with Janelle.
All right. Hi, Janelle. Thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely.
I am a mom to two boys who are 11 and 14. And I think being a kid, you couldn't pay me $1 million to go back through middle school or high school today. And so you not only have that part of their life, right? But then I think our world is just very different with all the distractions. And so I'm curious, what are your thoughts on how we move the line for our kids on all of those distractions that they're exposed to in order to build that mental resiliency?
So I'm going to answer this in two parts. The first part is by our example. I think, don't fully appreciate as parents a lot of times how much our children are watching and observing, and how our example and our behaviors, right? Because I talk a lot about thoughts, but ultimately our thoughts drive our behaviors and our actions and our performance. And when we don't have clarity around our thoughts, it's going to show up as stress and overwhelm and, saying or doing things, especially with our children, that we don't necessarily intend, right, for the environment or the stimulus to get us into those extreme spaces. So leading by example is very powerful. And I'm going to share an example in my life. You wake up in the morning. If I were to check my phone first thing, right, I might get irritated by a message, an email. I look on social media. I feel inadequate. I go wake up my teenager. She's a little grumpy. Before you know it, at 6:15, I'm already yelling, right? And it really had nothing to do with my interaction with her. It was more that I got agitated by something I saw on my phone that then created some negative thought patterns that then manifested as me getting into distress at 6:15 in the morning, right? Then my son can't find his shoes. Daughter can't find her homework. We get in the car. We're like hitting every red light on the way to school. And that's just another narrative talking point in my head, right? This always happens. And it's all building, right? They're bickering in the back seat. We pull up to school and I say, get out of the car. Oh, but have a great day. And it's 7:30 in the morning and my kids are walking into school like anxious and stressed. And I'm about to go to work anxious and stressed. So what I found is that the first thing is like leading by example is gaining awareness over how this is happening. I'm a big proponent of mindfulness. That's one of the skill sets I teach, because I think mindfulness cultivates an overall awareness to where we are and we're inside our stress curve, right? Am I in the good kind of stress, the eustress, where I'm performing at my best? Am I in the bad kind of stress where I'm making emotional overreactions to things? And then once I know where I'm at, I can adjust with skill sets to get myself back, right, to a calm space, a eustress space. And I try to develop skill sets. So for my kids, we now have a new morning routine where I don't check my phone, first of all, so then I don't get agitated, right? I engage with them. We use different type of language. While we're driving to school, we do what's called a mindset reset. There might have been a little bit of chaos before we got in the car, but I don't want them walking into school with that level of stress. So what we do is we take a mindful minute before we pull up to school, and we call it our mindset reset. So we just take a bunch of deep breaths and then we set an intention and have a thought of gratitude. And so that really helps them get out of the car thinking outside themselves, not just caught up in like the drama and the stress. And also what this is doing is this is setting up positive habit patterns for me as the parent, as well as for them, so that they'll grow up to understand the value in creating space and taking deep breaths and the power they have to reset their mind. They don't have to follow their thoughts, especially when they're not helpful ones. So that's kind of how I found the best way, right? Through my example, and then through instilling habit patterns and skill sets.
Yeah, no, I'm a big believer in kind of that caught, not taught. What I find can be challenging is oftentimes our kids look at us like we may be showing that example. And what I find is they hear it very, very different from someone else. Mm-hmm. And it could be, we could say the exact same words, and yet they're hearing it a little differently or receiving it a little differently. And so try to expose them to a lot of different people and the way they communicate. But that's what I always find a challenge, especially kind of through the teenage years is, I can say verbatim this set of words and someone else, friends of ours, can say something and they're like, oh, that's profound. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? I just said the exact same thing.
You are so right. You're so right. I'm a yoga instructor. I've been teaching yoga for years, and I was trying to get my husband to do it, and no, not interested. And then one day he comes, he's like, "Hey, Men's Health was telling me I should try to do yoga. What do you think about that?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, seriously."
You're like, that's an excellent idea. I wish I'd have thought of that. Thank you.
It's
Jen.
like those closest to us for sure. You know, my son and I do Headspace together.
Yeah.
And they've got these really, every night before he goes to bed, they've got these great animations that share ideas about, hey, when you get angry, this is what it feels like. Or, you know, and then a meditation that, you know, like I've tried to lead meditations with him at night and he has like no interest. But the second we put on Headspace, right, like then he's like, okay, I'm into this. So yeah, you're right.
That's good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I love it. I cannot imagine my mom saying we're going to do a mindful minute before I went to school. It was more like the bus is here. And that was it.
Oh,
That was all I got.
Yeah.